Hello folks, another video here. Just over a year since I did the last one about a budget. So there's a budget coming up here in the UK in November, and interestingly today I was watching the Prime Minister's questions, and he absolutely categorically refused to rule out that is, any kind of tax rises on employees. And also an increase in value-added tax or VAT. So that tells me two things. One is that we're going to see tax rises for employees in the November budget, and we're also going to see a rise in VAT. Because when they don't deny it type thing, and when they say, well, we don't want to comment before the before the actual budget, it means they're probably going to rise. Now, me personally, I don't mind paying more tax if I know that it's going to be spent wisely. But as we all know here in the UK, it's not spent wisely. So it just seems to kind of drift and go to somewhere else. And, you know, you look at the overseas budget aid that's there at the moment, it's literally billions of pounds. It's about 13.5 billion a year it's been sent in overseas aid. I've always worked on the premise that charity begins at home. So maybe cut overseas aid. That might help you plug that, support that imaginary black hole that Rachel Reeves has been talking about for the past 12 months. So what does it mean? So it means that everybody's going to pay more tax, anybody that's working. So you're going to pay, so the average, they say that the average income in the UK, if you take all areas into consideration across the United Kingdom as a whole, is about £33,500 a year. Yeah, it's not a lot of money in the overall scheme of things when you consider that your tax-free allowance is £12,750. So basically, the first £12,750 that you make, you don't pay any tax on that at all. After that, you pay a nominal rate of tax of 20%, and then if you then go over, I think it's 44 or 45,000 pounds a year, you pay 40% on anything above that amount. So we're already being taxed quite heavily anyway. And then, of course, there's the other taxes that you don't even think about, that you pay them every day. The fuel that you put in your car or your motorbike or your bus or your truck or whatever. 63% of the cost of a litre of petrol or diesel at the moment is attributed to tax. So there's that. And then there's other bits and pieces then as well. So stuff that you and I take for granted when we buy a house, for example, we have to pay tax on that. We pay council tax every year. You pay tax on every item that you buy virtually, except for food. I don't think they put VAT on food, but certainly anything else, there's value-added tax applied to that. So even a 1% increase on VAT to go from 20 to 21%, for example, means that almost everything goes up by at least 1%. Now, 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have inflation running at 4%, basically, it means that everything just got 5% more expensive over the period of 12 months. So why am I talking about this? Well, Rachel Reeves loves to bang on about her fiscal rules. Everybody knows, with any bit of kind of fiscal kind of common sense, knows that these are just made up rules that she's made up by herself. You know, they're imaginary lines in the sand, for example. And the idea behind it is that you try and keep the market sweet, type thing. But even the markets are saying that they're bollocks. These fiscal rules that she has are complete bollocks, you know. So she's going to have to change those. If she doesn't change it, it means there's going to be huge tax hikes for everybody. What that means in effect is that there's less money in the economy, and I'm sick to death of hearing Reeves and Starmer saying it's all about growing the economy. No economy in history has ever grown by increasing taxes. Winston Churchill once said that it's like a man standing in a bucket trying to pull himself up by the handle when you try to tax an economy into growth. It just doesn't work. It never has worked. It never will work. Because if people have less disposable income, they will not go out and put that back into the economy. And this seems lost on Starmer and Reeves and the rest of the Labour layabouts, as I like to call them. One of the things that I would be asking, for example, is, if you look at the benefits bill here in the UK, it's enormous, it's massive. But what people seem to forget is that 63% of the benefits bill is already taken up by people that are already in work. That to me is just daft. How in the name of Jesus right? Does somebody work 40 hours a week and still have to claim benefits? That says more about us as a society than anything else, that we've allowed it to get that way. Yes, there will be people that will take the piss when it comes to benefits, but you get that in every society. Yes, there will be people that will get off a plane and go straight out to a benefits office and sign on. They will take the piss, but they're a tiny minority of people in the overall scheme of things. I would be more interested in addressing how 63% of the working population are entitled to claim some sort of benefits in relation to getting tax credits and that type of thing. That's where I'd be looking at it. So you'd be looking at cutting benefits bills. There are, of course, genuine cases where people need benefits, like sickness, people losing their jobs. Of course, I lost my job a few months ago. Luckily, I found a job pretty quickly after that. And I did kind of have to sign on for, I think it was a month. But in fairness, when I went down to the local jobs office and told them what happened, that I'd been made redundant, that I am looking, type thing, they couldn't have been more helpful. The guys down in Clevedon were absolutely superb. They helped me in every way possible. Thankfully, I was actually only on benefits for 2 weeks, which is and that's the way it should be. Yeah, it shouldn't be a way of life. Benefits are there when people lose their jobs until they can get another job. I'm sick to death of seeing these vox pops on TV where you'll see these guys there saying, well, there's been no work around here for years. I'm third generation unemployed. Well, it's about fucking time you moved then, isn't it? Yeah? Oh, well, it's not easy to move when you've got 9 kids from 3, fuck's sake. Anyway, I'm getting on my political rant there, so there's not a lot I can do about it. But anyway, so what could be done? Well, you could reduce taxes, yeah, and yes, the deficit will get higher, but people will have more money, and then you're pumping that money back into the economy and the deficit gets lower. Yes, it will be a longer term fix, but people will feel better. If you gave everybody, for example, if you said to them, right, your tax-free allowance has gone up to £15,000 per year, that would effectively be a 10% pay rise for people, and people would actually benefit from that, and there would be disposable income, and they would go out, and they would start spending that money. But at the moment, people aren't spending money. Even people that have money aren't spending money because they don't know what the fuck is going to happen next. They don't know if the government is going to come along and take 40% off them, or there's going to be a wealth tax or a mansion tax. Most of the people that do have money in this country have already fucking left. Let's be honest about it. They're all out in Dubai, or they're all out in the Emirates somewhere, or in Qatar, or somewhere where there's a low tax economy, or somewhere where they're just not taking the piss out of for having money in the first place. I have no issue with anybody having lots and lots of money. Best of luck to them. And I have no issue with anybody paying the least amount of tax that they should be paying, because anybody in that kind of boat would do exactly the same thing. I would. If I was a multi-millionaire, of course, I'd hire an army of lawyers so I didn't have to pay as much tax. It's perfectly legal to do. If you don't like it, change the law. But the fact is that thousands of these wealth creators have left the country. They've taken their business elsewhere. No business in their right mind is going to come to this country at the moment, because they know they're going to get absolutely shafted the moment they try and set up any kind of business here. So that's the way it is. Anyway, I just said I'd share my thoughts with you. Let me know what you think in the comments and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching, folks. See you all later.